Hello and welcome to day 133 in the Not Alone Today chronological Bible reading plan. Today we are beginning the book of Ecclesiastes, and we are in Ecclesiastes chapters 1 to 4. As we are beginning a new book, we are switching translations to the New King James Version, the NKJV.
Chapter 1. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity.
What profit has a man from all his labor, in which he toils under the sun? One generation passes away and another generation comes, but the earth abides forever. The sun also rises and the sun goes down, and hastens to the place where it arose. The wind goes toward the south and turns around to the north. The wind whirls about continually and comes again on its circuit. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full. To the place from which the river comes, there they return again. All things are full of labor. Men cannot express it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing.
That which has been is what will be. That which is done is what will be done. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which it may be said, "See, this is new"? It has already been in ancient times before us. There is no remembrance of former things, nor will there be any remembrance of things that are to come by those who will come after.
I, the preacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem, and I set my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all that is done under heaven. This burdensome task God has given to the sons of man, by which they may be exercised. I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and indeed, all is vanity and grasping for the wind.
What is crooked cannot be made straight, and what is lacking cannot be numbered.
I communed with my heart, saying, "Look, I have attained greatness, and have gained more wisdom than all who were before me in Jerusalem. My heart has understood great wisdom and knowledge, and I set my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceived that this also is grasping for the wind."
For in much wisdom is much grief, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow.
Chapter 2. I said in my heart, "Come now, I will test you with mirth. Therefore enjoy pleasure." But surely this also was vanity. I said of laughter, madness, and of mirth, what does it accomplish? I searched in my heart how to gratify my flesh with wine, while guiding my heart with wisdom, and how to lay hold on folly, till I might see what was good for the sons of men to do under heaven all the days of their lives.
I made my works great. I built myself houses and planted myself vineyards. I made myself gardens and orchards, and I planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. I made myself water pools from which to water the growing trees of the grove. I acquired male and female servants, and had servants born in my house. Yes, I had greater possessions of herds and flocks than all who were in Jerusalem before me. I also gathered for myself silver and gold, and the special treasures of kings and of provinces. I acquired male and female singers, the delight of the sons of man, and musical instruments of all kinds.
So I became great and excelled more than all who were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained with me.
Whatever my eyes desired, I did not keep from them. I did not withhold my heart from any pleasure, for my heart rejoiced in all my labor, and this was my reward from my labor. Then I looked on all the works that my hands had done, and on the labor in which I had toiled, and indeed all was vanity and grasping for the wind. There was no profit under the sun.
Then I turned myself to consider the wisdom and madness and folly. For what can man do who succeeds the king? Only what he has already done. Then I saw that wisdom excels folly, as light excels darkness. The wise man's eyes are in his head, but the fool walks in darkness. Yet I myself perceived that the same event happens to them all.
So I said in my heart, as it happens to the fool, it also happens to me. And why was I then more wise? Then I said in my heart, This also is vanity, for there is no more remembrance of the wise than of the fool forever, since all that now is will be forgotten in the days to come. How does a wise man die as the fool?
Therefore I hated life, because the work that was done under the sun was distressing to me, for all is vanity and grasping for the wind.
Then I hated all my labor in which I had toiled under the sun, because I must leave it to the man who will come after me, and who knows whether he will be wise or a fool. Yet he will rule over all my labor in which I toiled, and in which I shone myself wise under the sun. This also is vanity. Therefore I turned my heart and despaired of all the labor in which I had toiled under the sun. For there is a man whose labor is with wisdom, knowledge, and skill, yet he must leave his heritage to a man who has not labored for it. This also is vanity and a great evil. For what has man for all his labor, and for the striving of his heart with which he has toiled under the sun? For all his days are sorrowful, and his work burdensome. Even in the night his heart takes no rest. This also is vanity.
Nothing is better for a man than that he should eat and drink, and that his soul should enjoy good in his labor. This also I saw was from the hand of God. For who can eat, or who can have enjoyment more than I? For God gives wisdom and knowledge and joy to a man who is good in his height. But to the sinner he gives the work of gathering and collecting, that he may give to him who is good before God. This also is vanity and grasping for the wind.
Chapter 3. To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven.
A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to pluck what is planted. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to break down, and a time to build up. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones. A time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to gain, and a time to lose. A time to keep, and a time to throw away. A time to tear, and a time to sow. A time to keep silence, and a time to speak. A time to love, and a time to hate. A time of war, and a time of peace.
What profit has the worker from that in which he labors? I have seen the God-given task with which the sons of men are to be occupied. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also put eternity in their hearts, except that no one can find out the work that God does from beginning to end.
I know that nothing is better for them than to rejoice and to do good in their lives, and also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all his labor. It is the gift of God.
I know that whatever God does, it shall be forever. Nothing can be added to it, and nothing taken from it. God does it, that men should fear before him. That which is has already been, and what is to be has already been, and God requires an account of what is past.
Moreover, I saw under the sun, in the place of judgment, wickedness was there, and in the place of righteousness, iniquity was there. I said in my heart, God shall judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time there for every purpose and for every work.
I said in my heart, concerning the condition of the sons of men, God tests them, that he may see that they themselves are like animals. For what happens to the sons of men also happens to animals. One thing befalls them. As one dies, so dies the other. Surely they all have one breath. Man has no advantage over animals, for all is vanity. All go to one place. All are from dust, and all return to dust. Who knows the spirit of the sons of men which goes upward, and the spirit of the animal which goes down to the earth? So I perceive that nothing is better than that a man should rejoice in his works, for that is his heritage. For who can bring him to see what will happen after him?
Chapter 4. Then I returned and considered all the oppression that is done under the sun. And look, the tears of the oppressed, but they have no comforter. On the side of the oppressors there is power, but they have no comforter. Therefore I praised the dead who were already dead, more than the living who are still alive. Yet better than both is he who has never existed, who has not seen the evil work that is done under the sun.
Again I saw that for all toil and every skillful work a man is envied by his neighbor. This also is vanity and grasping for the wind.
The fool folds his hands and consumes his own flesh. Better a handful with quietness than both hands full together with toil and grasping for the wind.
Then I returned and saw vanity under the sun. There is one alone without companion. He has neither son nor brother, yet there is no end to all his labors, nor is his eye satisfied with riches. But he never asks, "For whom do I toil and deprive myself of goods?" This also is vanity and a grave misfortune.
2 are better than 1, because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, one will lift up his companion. But woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him up. Again, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one be warm alone? Though one may be overpowered by another, 2 can withstand him. 2 can withstand him, and a threefold cord is not quickly broken.
Better a poor and wise youth than an old and foolish king who will be admonished no more. For he comes out of prison to be king, although he was born poor in his kingdom. I saw all the living who walk under the sun. They were with the second youth who stands in his place. There was no end of all the people over whom he has made king. Yet those who come afterward will not rejoice in him. Surely this also is vanity and grasping for the wind. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. Today we have read the first 4 chapters of Ecclesiastes. By way of just a general overview of the book, as we do when we cross over into a new book, it's believed that Solomon wrote Ecclesiastes, which is why we are reading it now in the context of the story, the point in the narrative when we are reading about Solomon. And the book gives this rather interesting picture about life. It's almost like writing a thesis after such a vast, comprehensive research. And the author, Solomon, we believe, is claiming to have observed all manner of things in life and come to the conclusion that everything is just vanity. The only way that life makes sense, he would go on to conclude at the end of the book, when we get to see his final thesis, is in relation to the Creator. And so he's going to echo the wisdom that we've seen also in the book of Proverbs, also in many of the Psalms. Fear God and obey his commandments. That's where he's all heading. But other than that, every picture he paints, which we can relate to, because indeed these are things that happen on a day-to-day basis, we get to see that truly and really it's vanity of vanities. So today we read chapters 1 to 4. In chapter 1, he introduces the message of the book, the vanity of life, how that nothing makes sense. And then from verse 12, he begins to talk about how it's even senseless to be wise in some sense. Wisdom carries with it some sort of grief. And for him to be the wisest man alive, he's saying with that also comes some huge grief. Then in chapter 2, he talks about the vanity of pleasure and how it's senseless to be selfish. And then he begins to talk about how the end of the wise and the fool is similar in that they all die at the end of the day. He highlights the fact that wisdom comes from God. Then in chapter 3, the classic chapter about time and how everything has its time. And then he tells us, what God has given us to do in the midst of all that, knowing that he has placed eternity in our hearts. And then he spoke about the seeming success or victory of injustice in the latter part of that chapter. In chapter 4, he talked about the usefulness of selfish toil. And then from verse 9 in that chapter, he began to talk about how it's better to have a friend, the value of having someone, because 2 are better than 1, and a threefold cord is not quickly broken. That's the summary of all the 4 chapters. Let's go back to chapter 1. What stood out to you?
Ecclesiastes. It's a difficult read. All through what I was reading, my soul was just sinking deeper and deeper and deeper in me, because it actually resonates. It's almost propagating that everything God has made, there's no point to it, because one dies and the other dies. liking human to animals. The chapters we've read today, the whole summary is, what's the point?
Yeah.
And another thing is alluding to is let's eat and enjoy our life when we can. But that is not the gospel.
Yeah, that's the point. So it wants to is building up to somewhere. You've not read the final chapter, that's why you're saying this. But this is for everybody that doesn't know God. This is what life looks like. What's the point is the question. Is why some people would eventually come to the conclusion that there is no God. Because what's the point? And so he takes God out of the picture for vastly 11 chapters or so, for the most part of that, and then makes us see that without God, really, it's all pointless. Like, the only reason our life makes sense, that gives us a sense of this is our purpose in this grand picture, is because there is a creator and we have a relationship with that creator. And when we get to embrace that reality, all of these things that doesn't seem to make sense, now there is a bit of sense in them. We can begin to see the purpose in light of the bigger purpose. But yeah. So chapter 1, what stood out to you?
Verse 18 stood out to me. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he who increases in knowledge increases sorrow. And the reason it stood out to me is because it's true. For example, in my workplace, when I started, it was all new and I was starry-eyed, like, oh my gosh, I am here, I'm doing this. But after doing about 50 cases, I'm now at the point where it just saps my strength. The more I know of the rules and the system of the law, the more it just feels, yeah, this is not nice. This is not nice. And the more I gain knowledge, the more it increases my sorrow. There's one point at work where I was presenting, and I find myself sighing with everything I say. Like, I'll say something, until the judge looked at me sharply. That's when I came to myself and I just started saying it normally, because I was hearing myself and thinking, is this true? Even if it is said, but be merciful. So I do relate with that part, where with much wisdom is much grief. Yeah. What about you?
For me, the picture that jumps at me is in verse 8. All things are full of labor, men cannot express it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. And in our world of social media, that just rings ever so true. In the CEV, it says all of life is far more boring than words could ever say. Our eyes and our ears are never satisfied with what we see and what we hear. And you jump on a reel and watch a 30 seconds video and move on to another 22 seconds video, and from there to a 2 minutes clip, and you're still not satisfied. And all of life is far more boring. And then when you come to the realization you've been doing this for 30 minutes and you put down the phone, and then there is just that sinking feeling again that, so what's the point? And you want to reach out for the phone again. It's just indeed a very apt depiction of, I think, how many people are living and experiencing with consumption of media. So much so that it never ends, and the eyes never see enough. And there is Netflix and Amazon Prime and Disney Plus and YouTube, and you just want to continue to have access to as many platforms as you can. But to what end? Vanity upon vanity. All
It's vanity.
is vanity.
In chapter 2, verses 10 and 11 stood out to me, where the preacher said that he did not keep himself from anything he desired because he felt that is a reward for his labor. But then he looked at that pleasure and actually think, this is also vanity. That is instructive to me, in that pleasure, mirth, gratification should not be our go-to. Even when we're rewarding ourselves for our labor, it should be done in circumspection. A little here, a little there. What about you?
Yeah, for me, it's also verse 10 and 11, as you pointed out. But I'll just read it from the CEV. It says, I got whatever I wanted and did whatever made me happy. But most of all, I enjoyed my work. Then I thought about everything I'd done, including the hard work. And it was simply chasing the wind. That's vanity. Nothing on earth is worth the trouble. And when I read that, I was just like, oh no. But yeah, it's such a striking picture. Yeah.
In chapter 3, verse 12 stood out to me. That where the preacher was saying that nothing is better than to rejoice and do good, and also to eat and drink and enjoy the good work of your labor, because it's a gift of God. It's quite instructive for me, because when I read the NIV application commentary on the Old Testament, they did say that Ecclesiastes was quite difficult to read, but we should approach it with openness, that whilst each verse might not be practical, like you can't literally say you want to apply it practically to our lives, but for us to gloss over what is being said would be violence. That's actually what they said, to be violence to the text itself. So in that way, in verse 12 and 13, it is good to know that enjoyment of the work of our hand is a gift from God. There's some schools of thought that think enjoying the work of your hand, it's not a gift from God. We should keep striving all our lives. But here we're told to enjoy the good that comes from our labor, because it's a gift from God. And I found that very instructive. How about you?
For me, it's the time and season part of the first few verses. There are certain opposites there that didn't sound like opposite. I mean, for the vast majority, it's words and opposite. A time to be born, to die, to plant, to harvest, and things like that. But for verse 3, a time to kill, I thought the opposite would be a time to make alive. But it says a time to kill and a time to heal. And it brings to me the picture of, like, there are times when you just have to shut some things down, and there are times you have to fight for its recovery in some sense. So think of, say, an opportunity, and there are times to actually just nip it in the bud and say, no, this one is not for me. But there are also times when you just need to literally fight for it, and see and trust God for the restoration, as the case may be. It could be an opportunity, it could be a project that you believe so vehemently that, yes, God gave me this vision and it's just not working, and there might indeed be a time to kill it, and there might be seasons when to kill it is the wrong thing, but actually to fight for the healing of the vision and the healing of the project and things like that. So yeah, that stood out to me amongst the many opposites. And then, of course, the fact that there is a time to hate and a time to love.
I think in that contrast, what stood out to me the most is a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing.
Yeah,
it sits well with my way of life. it resonates with me, because I mostly refrain from embracing, but knowing that there's a time actually, Anu, to be open, to just embrace, and a time to also retract.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Chapter 4, what stood out to you?
Verse 8 stood out to me, especially where the preacher said that sometimes we don't ask ourselves, why do we deprive ourselves of good? And we just continue toiling. That also is vanity. And here it actually went on to say it's a grave misfortune.
I like the way it says it in the CEV. It says people like that should ask themselves, why am I always working to have more? Who will get what I leave behind? What a senseless and miserable life. But for me, it's verse 9 to 12. Very interesting passage. 9 to 12. It says in the CEV, you are better having a friend than to be all alone, because then you will get more enjoyment out of what you earn. If you fall, your friend can help you up. But if you fall without having a friend nearby, you're really in trouble. If you sleep alone, you won't have anyone to keep you warm on a cold night. Someone might be able to beat up one of you, but not both of you, as the saying goes. A rope made from 3 strands of cord is hard to break. And then as an icing on the cake is verse 13. You may be poor and young, but if you are wise, you're better off than a foolish old king who won't listen to advice. And that's just a very striking picture. Parallels what Paul was saying to Timothy in 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 12. Let no one put you down because you are young. Let no one despise your youth, but rather be an example in word, in speech, in holiness, and things like that. In other words, be wise. And if you're wise as a young person, even if you're poor, you're better off than a foolish old king who would not listen to advice. We flip the page on day 134 and see more of Solomon's wisdom in this lengthy treatise, building up to the conclusion in chapter 12. But still then, just remember,
You're not alone.
you're not alone today.
God bless you.